Okay, friends, I would like for us to get our reading brain turned on. We're going to read a different story this week called Destiny's Gift. And what we're going to be focusing on, excuse me, is like the characters in the story. So like when you're asked to describe a character in a story, what kind of things are they wanting you to describe?
Like what she looks like.
What they look like.
What they do in the story.
What they do in the story. I'll come back to you if you think of it.
How many characters are in the story?
Okay, that could also be part of it.
Where the story takes place?
No, we're talking about the characters. How you would describe a character.
How they act.
How they act.
How they like
I'll come back to you. Do you think of yours?
how they feel.
How they feel.
How they Lucas pretty much took mine, but it's in a different word.
What were you thinking? Or do you want me to move on and come back to you if you think of something different?
I'm gonna think something.
Okay.
How they react
How they react
to situations.
to situations. How they what? Eat? Is that what you said? Maybe. How old they are and what they like. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways to describe a character. Did you think of yours?
Yes, it's how they.
Did you lose it again?
How they treat people.
How they treat people. So there's a lot of different ways, like I was getting ready to say, that we can tell about the characters in the story. And that's what we're going to be doing in this story, Destiny's Gift. As we are reading, well, we're going to listen to the story today, okay? But as we are following along with this story, I am going to stop it. I'm going to pause it every so often and ask you some character-related questions about the people in the story. Okay, so go ahead and get your Journeys book out and turn to the contents section. Remember, we're still in Unit 1, but now we're on lesson or story 3. Slide your finger across once you're in that, friends, we're in the contents section. Find what page using the contents section. Remember, the contents is at the beginning. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you, Raylyn. Make sure you are in Unit 1, though. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Haley. Thank you, Lucas. Okay, so using that contents section, Reese, at the beginning of the book, the contents, you're actually looking at page 2 has Unit 1 on it, but then you have to look over at page 3 because then that has the lesson 3 there. All right, so looking at the contents for lesson 3, it tells us the vocabulary in context would be on what page?
78.
the vocabulary in context. What page would that be on? Slide your finger across from there. And that says that it's actually on page the vocabulary in context. Do you see where I'm talking about? We are in the contents section, Jenny. Do you agree or disagree with Haley?
Agree.
Okay, so let's turn to 74 first. These are just some of the words that they want you to make sure that you understand as we're reading the story. Have you heard the word afford before?
Yes.
Have you heard somebody say that they couldn't afford to buy something? What does that mean, afford? Lucas?
Like you don't have like enough
Enough what?
money.
Money, okay. Either having the money for it or not having the money for it. How about the word customers? Have you ever been a customer before?
Yeah.
If you are a customer, what do you do? Amy?
You eat, you buy stuff.
Yeah, you
just look around.
buy stuff there. Could you be a customer at a restaurant?
Yeah.
Could you be a customer at a grocery store?
Yeah.
What about a customer at a shoe store or a candy store or a toy store? Okay, if you're a customer, you're there to buy things. What about the word contacted? Haley?
Like, contacted means that you like talk to someone and like you.
Okay, you talk to someone, maybe you call them, or maybe you sent them a note. Maybe that was your way of being able to contact them. Okay, raise. Are they talking about like to raise a flag? No. Looking at their example there, it says many groups have bake sales to raise needed money. What does that mean, to raise needed money? Natalia?
It means to like do something to get money.
Right, to do something to get money. Earn. Have you ever tried to earn money?
Mm-hmm.
If you earn money, what do? Do you get that money? Do you work for it?
Yeah.
Or are you giving it away?
You're working for it.
You're working for that money. The next one is figure. Now, let's look at their example of how they use it. Many schools figure out ways to reuse paper instead of throwing it away. What do they mean by figure there? Connor?
Like figure it out.
Okay, what does that mean though?
It means to like solve. You know how you can solve a puzzle and you can point it.
So they're kind of solving a problem in a way.
Yeah.
They're finding out a way to do something. Okay. Block. It says neighbors keep this city block pleasant by having a cleanup day each month. So how is block being used there? Because they're not talking about like a block of, like a building block, are they? So what block is this one, Amy?
It's like a house and a house and then a house and then maybe a store and then a puppy out.
Okay, so they're talking about, is our school on a block?
Yeah.
Are there groups of houses around a block? Yes. Do cities have blocks of like apartments or homes? Could there be a block with stores around it? Okay. And then the last word is spreading. Show me with your hands how you could give me a visual of spreading. The word spreading. Are your hands coming together?
No.
Or are they kind of going out and around? All right. Think about if you spill your milk. Is it going to be spreading all over the table
Yes.
or on the floor?
Okay.
All right. Let's turn to 78 then. And let's read about the author and the illustrator. It says Natasha Anastasia Tarpley. Natasha Tarpley remembers being very shy as a young girl. Are any of you shy?
Yeah.
What does it mean to be shy? If you're shy, are you gonna go out and just talk to people?
No.
Or are you gonna be really quiet and to yourself? Okay. Reading for me was a way to escape into whole other worlds, she says. Some of her favorite authors were Judy Blume, Beverly Cleary, and Laura Ingalls Wilder. The illustrator, I never remember how to say her name, so we'll hear it when we listen to the story. I'm just gonna guess and say Adjoa J. Burroughs. To make her illustrations look three-dimensional, Adjoa J. Burroughs cuts out each part of a scene separately. Then she pastes the individual pieces of heavy paper on top of each other. It makes it almost look like it's jumping out from the page, she says. All right, now the genre of this story. Look over on page 78 over in that far left-hand corner. It says the genre is realistic fiction. So is this a true story?
No.
No. But is it something that could really happen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so realistic fiction is a story with events that could happen in real life, but it didn't actually happen.
Yes.
All right, let's take a picture walk. Just look through some of those pictures. What are some of the things that you notice happening in this story just by going through the pictures? What did you notice, Natalia? Okay, maybe a library or a bookstore. What did you notice, Raylin? I can't hear you.
In one of the pictures, there was a sign that said, Save Our Store.
I saw that sign too that says Save Our Store. Connor?
I saw that they maybe lost the bookstore and I thought she was writing a note trying to save the store.
Okay. Haley?
I thought that maybe.
You're gonna have to talk louder for me.
I thought that maybe because it was like at a library and there weren't actually very many kids there and stuff like that, and that they had like a group thing to like make cookies and stuff to raise money, because in the pictures there was like a stand that said big cookies and they had like some cookies and stuff like that.
Okay, kind of like a bake sale.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Lucas?
Maybe they're like trying to earn money, like get money to like for them to get better books.
Okay, to buy more books. All right. Well, we just made some predictions based on the pictures that we saw. All right, let's see what this is actually about. So everybody's sitting up straight, ready to follow along as we listen to the story be read to us. Okay, like I said, I'm gonna stop every so often as we're listening to the story to have some character discussions. All right, are you ready? Hopefully this works.
Destiny's Gift by Natasha Anastasia Tarpley. Illustrated by Adjoa J. Burrows.
Can everybody hear okay?
Essential question. Why is volunteering good for a community and its people? My favorite place in the world was Mrs. Wade's bookstore across the street from my house. Mrs. Wade knew everything there was to know about words, and I loved words. I went over to Mrs. Wade's every Tuesday and Saturday. As soon as I walked into the store, the wind chimes above the door tinkled a special hello. "Hey there, Destiny," Mrs. Wade would call out, and stop whatever she was doing to give me a big hug. She smelled like flowers and peppermint and had long silver dreadlocks that fell to her waist. "What's the word?" Mrs. Wade would ask. "Let's go find out," I would say. We'd rush over to the big, thick dictionary Mrs. Wade kept on a pedestal in the store. I'd close my eyes, open the dictionary, and point. Whatever word my finger landed on was our word for the day. Mrs. Wade always helped me with words I didn't understand. We sounded out each word and picked it apart like a puzzle until I knew all there was to know about the word. I wrote down everything in my notebook, which I carried everywhere I went.
Okay, so far, who are the characters that we have been introduced to? Amy?
Mrs. Wade and Destiny.
Mrs. Wade and Destiny. Where is this story taking place? It told us. I know that doesn't have anything to do with the characters, but it does. Okay, so where does this story take place? Raylan?
The bookstore.
In a bookstore. All right, so far from what we have learned about Mrs. Wade and Destiny, how are they alike? How are they kind of similar? How is Destiny kind of like Mrs. Wade? Connor? We're having to make some inferences here. Let's not mess with things in our desk. Natalia?
They both like words.
They both like what?
Words.
They both like words. What else?
They both like want to know what words.
Okay.
Teach each other pretty much everything.
How do you know they both like words? What gave you that idea? What in the story what information from the story did you use to help you figure out they both like words? Amy?
Because when she would walk in, she would stop whatever she's doing, they would hug, and then she would say, "What's the word of the day?"
And then where would they go look?
In
In the dictionary. And what is the dictionary full of?
Words.
Words. All right. Would you say, this is just a yes or no question, does Destiny admire Mrs. Wade? Do you know what it means to admire someone?
Yeah.
It means you kind of look up to them.
Yeah.
Why would you say that already, just based on these 2 pages? How can you tell that Destiny admires Mrs. Wade? Amy?
Because She helps her with words and helps her sound out the word.
Okay, helps her with those words, helps her figure out those different words that they talk about each day. All right, well, go ahead and turn the page and let's keep following along.
When I wasn't writing words, I was reading them, gobbling them up from the pages of books as if they were candy. Mrs. Wade always gave me new books to read. She even introduced me to real authors who came to read their books at her store. I liked to talk to them because they loved words just like I did. That's how I decided I wanted to become a writer when I grew up. On Saturdays, Mama and Daddy let me stay at Mrs. Wade's until closing. I helped Mrs. Wade around the store. I watered the plants and fluffed the big comfy pillows where people could curl up and read on the floor. Then Mrs. Wade and I would put the new books on the shelves. Sometimes I'd open a book, stick my nose in between the pages, and take a big whiff. It smelled like ink and grass and the old clothes in my granny's closet. The crisp paper felt like autumn leaves between my fingers.
Okay, I'm gonna stop here again.
The part I liked
Hold
best
on.
about
I thought I was stopping there again. So, looking at page 82, that sentence that says, when I wasn't writing words, I was reading them, gobbling them up from the pages of books as if they were candy. Was she really taking those words and eating them like candy? What does that mean then? That's some figurative language because she's not really doing that. So what does that mean? Lucas, what do you think it means?
Like she's learning new words.
Okay, she's learning all of those new words. What do you think it
She's
means?
reading them, but she made like a little, but also the person who wrote the word made it kind of like what it would be like made it kind of fun and told her what it's doing.
Okay. Connor, what were you thinking? Or did you change your mind?
I was thinking that it means that she thinks. I had to think again because
Okay.
a lot of people take.
All right, so basically what this is saying to us is that Destiny loves to read and write. Basically, anything that she can read, she'll read. Excuse me. So far, I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. So far, the author has introduced us to the main characters, which are, we already said it, Mrs. Wade and Destiny. And we've also been introduced to the setting, we've already said that, and that's the, very good, the bookstore. Okay, are these realistic places? Are these realistic things that we've been introduced to so far in this story?
Yeah.
Could these be real people?
Yeah.
Is this a real place? Is a bookstore a real place?
Yes.
Okay. So Destiny tells the story. Did you figure that out? She's the person kind of narrating the story, telling us what's happening in this story. So we know her feelings. We know that she loves to read. From the help of Mrs. Wade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do any of you love to read too? Can anybody make a text to self connection? Okay, a few of you can. Do you know what a text to self connection is? Where what you're reading kind of reminds you of yourself. Okay. All right, let's continue on. I paused it after a couple of words had already been read on the next page. So if you haven't already, go ahead and turn the page.
these Saturdays was the end of the day after all the customers had gone. Mrs. Wade would set up a tray with peppermint tea and butter cookies, the kind with a hole in the middle. We would drink our tea and pretend the butter cookies were diamond rings around our fingers. Then I would read to Mrs. Wade from my notebook. She'd listen to my stories and poems with her eyes closed. I'd imagine I was a famous author reading to a room full of people. Sometimes, after I finished reading, Mrs. Wade would open her eyes and say, "Words are a very powerful gift." I wasn't sure what she meant, but I felt very important indeed.
Okay, I'm stopping again. Do you see the stop and think question at the bottom of the
Yeah.
page 84 there? It says understanding characters, and it asks, why is the bookstore so special to Destiny? It says use details from the story to explain your answer. But why is the bookstore so special to her? Because what does she love to do? Everybody, what does she love to do?
Read.
She loves to read, and she also loves to write. She loves to learn. And who can you tell she likes to spend time with? Mrs. Wade. Okay. And I am willing to bet that she likes to spend time with Mrs. Wade because I think, this is just my own assumption, I think Mrs. Wade makes Destiny feel important. Like she gives her that one-on-one time. Do you know what it means to have one-on-one time with somebody? It's just you and them. And Destiny likes to have that time. Says that very last sentence, she didn't know what she meant by words are a very powerful gift. She said, I wasn't sure what she meant, but I felt very important indeed. How can words be a powerful gift? What do you think?
You can write stuff to people, like thank you notes, we miss you, happy birthday, or
So being able to write like nice messages to people. All right. What do you think, Haley?
that, just because of that,
That's okay. Connor?
It's because I was that you can say sorry to people after when you hurt them.
Okay, so being kind with our words can be powerful. Haley, did you think of it?
because pretty much we use a lot of words every single day.
Would you agree with that? Do we use a lot of words every day? Yeah. Okay, let's continue to follow along.
Analyze the text. Understanding characters.
Oh, we already did that.
Why is the bookstore so special to Destiny? Use details from the story to explain your answer.
We're one step ahead of the reader.
Then one Saturday, everything was different when I got to Mrs. Wade's store. Instead of talking to her customers or unpacking new books as usual, Mrs. Wade was reading a letter and looking very sad. She put away the letter and smiled when she saw me, but I could tell she wasn't her usual cheerful self. Later, while we had our tea, Mrs. Wade told me what was wrong. She took my hands in hers and we sat with our knees touching. Have you ever had a really tough assignment in school, but no matter how hard you try, you just can't seem to figure it out? She asked. I nodded. Math problems were always like that for me.
Okay. So we're coming to the problem of this story, aren't we? Do we know it yet?
No.
No. But there obviously is a problem. Do you think Mrs. Wade is going to tell Destiny what the problem is?
Yeah.
Maybe, probably.
How many of you think she will tell her what the problem is? How many of you think, maybe, maybe not? Okay. Why didn't Mrs. Wade just tell her what the problem was right there? Why did she give that example about the assignment in school that was hard, and no matter how hard you try, you still just can't figure out what you need to do? Natalia?
Because if she tells Destiny the real problem, then she's afraid Destiny probably won't wanna come there.
Okay, maybe so. Haley?
That if she actually tells her just straight up, that she might never wanna come back, and she might get kind of mad and really, really sad.
Okay. Connor?
That she'll be worried about the bookstore.
That Destiny would be worried?
Yeah.
Okay.
And scared.
Because are grown-up problems sometimes different than kid problems?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think that Mrs. Wade is having a grown-up problem?
Yeah.
And so she's trying to figure out how to explain her grown-up problem to a kid without actually telling her what the real problem is? Yeah. All right, so there's another stop and think box at the bottom right-hand side of page 87. Says author's craft. How does the author create a serious mood and hint that Mrs. Wade has sad news to share with Destiny? How does the mood of this story change? It goes from them having a good time and Destiny being excited and learning these new things from Mrs. Wade to the mood changing, right? How did the author create that mood change? Amy?
It created because kind of a face, kind of worried a little bit, and she looked sad when she wrapped around the and when she saw Destiny, she was back to go.
Okay, so did they describe it as Destiny seeing the sad look on her face when she was holding that letter? If she's holding that letter with a sad look on her face, something not good is in that letter, right?
Yep.
All right, let's turn the page. And we'll keep reading.
Well, I've been trying for a long time to figure out a way to keep the bookstore open, but I haven't had much luck, Mrs. Wade said, sighing. My landlord is raising my rent, and I can't afford to pay the new amount. I may have to close the store. Mrs. Wade sighed again, and I thought I saw a small tear in the corner of her eye. My heart froze mid-beat. Close? No, I couldn't believe it. Why? Why do you have to close the store? I asked, my voice shaking. I need to earn more money in order to pay the higher rent, and there just aren't enough customers for that, Mrs. Wade said. We can get more, I shouted. We'll see, Mrs. Wade smiled a sad smile. We'll see.
Okay, did we figure out the problem of the story?
Yes.
What is the problem? She might have to close the store because, yeah, the rent is getting to be too high. What is rent? What does that mean that she can't afford the rent? Lucas? You ready to have somebody help you? Amy, can you help him?
It means like she doesn't have enough money to get the rent, and she doesn't have that much customers.
Okay, if you're renting something, are you just kind of borrowing it?
Yes.
Like, some people will rent a house, or some people will rent, sometimes people have to rent a car, Okay, so if they're renting it, are they paying for it?
Yeah.
Yes, but does it belong to them?
No.
No, so they're just using it for a period of time. All right, so her landlord, a landlord is the person that owns the building. Her landlord is raising her rent. Can she afford that?
No.
No, she can't afford it because she doesn't have enough customers. So there's the problem, right? Not enough customers to make money to be able to pay that higher rent. Okay, let's keep reading.
When I got home, I told Mama and Daddy about Mrs. Wade's store. I cried so hard I didn't think I'd ever stop. Mama and Daddy wrapped me in their arms. I know how much the store means to you, Mama said, stroking my hair. Maybe there's something we can do to help, said Daddy. Mama and Daddy got on the telephone and called all our neighbors. The next day, everybody on our block came to our house to talk about what we could do to save Mrs. Wade's store.
Are they trying to find ways to solve this problem now?
Yes.
Okay, what did her mom and dad do? Called all the neighbors. Now, did they say what the plan was gonna be?
No.
No, they didn't. But what are all the neighbors gonna do?
This
Figure out a way.
Are they all gonna get together
Yeah.
and talk about what they could do? All right. How do you think that made Destiny feel? Because how was she feeling about the store or the bookstore maybe closing? Was she feeling good about it? Or was she feeling pretty sad? Okay. So she went home and told her parents about it. How was she feeling after her parents started calling the neighbors? How do you think she was feeling?
Maybe a little happy.
Maybe a little bit better, a little happier.
Still pretty sad, but maybe just a tidbit happy.
A little bit better.
A little bit better. Okay. All right, well, let's keep reading.
The following Saturday, all the kids in the neighborhood passed out flyers to get folks to come to Mrs. Wade's bookstore. The grown-ups contacted the local TV news stations and newspapers and called Mrs. Wade's landlord to ask him to lower her rent so the store could stay open. On Sunday, we made signs that said, "Save our store," and then marched around the neighborhood. It felt like being in a parade.
Okay, so did neighbors come out? So how can you tell how people feel about Mrs. Wade? How do the people in the story feel about Mrs. Wade? What do you think? Amy?
Kind of feel sad for her because she might have to close down the store.
Okay, maybe feeling sad for her. Did they want to help her out?
Mm-hmm.
How can you tell?
By the faces.
Okay,
By their body.
their body language. Did they show up on Saturday to help?
Yeah.
What did they do on Saturday to help?
They handed out flyers, called their landlord, put it in the newspaper.
Tried to get it out on the news too, didn't they? All right, let's keep reading.
The next Saturday, we had a huge block party to raise money. There was singing and dancing and tables full of good food. I helped Mrs. Wade at her table, and we sold boxes and boxes of books. Analyze the text. Story message. What message is the author giving to readers?
What is the message the author is trying to give to us? Is the author but giving us the message that we should only take care of ourselves and not help other people? So what's the message the author is trying to give to us as the reader of this story? Reese?
You should help other people.
Help other people when they're needing help. Natalia?
Even if it's not your problem, you can help someone
Even if it's not your problem, you can help someone
else.
else. Haley, were you kind of thinking something along
Yeah.
that same line? Amy?
Even if you don't like that person, you should still help them. Because case if it's someone really important to them, they really love, and they really talk about a lot, you should still help them, try to help them get better, or help them say something they love.
Okay. Did you think of something different?
That even if you like, if people kind of need help with like a bookstore, and you're more like you don't even really like books that much, you're like more into like video games and TV and stuff like that, you should like even like get out and help.
Still help out people in your neighborhood. Okay. All right, let's keep reading.
I had so much fun, I almost forgot to feel sad. Almost. Even with all the signs and the flyers and the block party, I still wanted to do something special for Mrs. Wade. I wanted to give her a gift that would be just from me. I thought and thought, but couldn't come up with any ideas. "What are you thinking so hard about?" Mama asked. "I want to make a special gift for Mrs. Wade, but I can't think of anything," I said. "Well, why don't you close your eyes and take a deep breath," Mama said. "Then remember all the good times you had with Mrs. Wade at the bookstore. I'm sure you'll come up with something." I closed my eyes and followed Mama's suggestion. Suddenly, I had an idea. I jumped up, got out a new notebook, and started to write. I wrote down everything I loved about Mrs. Wade's store, from the sound of the wind chimes hanging on the door to the smell of the brand new books and Mrs. Wade's peppermint tea. I wrote all afternoon and all evening long. Mama and Daddy even let me write during dinner.
Okay, so what does Destiny, decide would be the perfect gift for Mrs. Wade? Connor?
To write a note and give her a special feeling about the things she loved that she never told her about.
Okay, things that she loves about the bookstore.
Mhm.
All right.
The next morning, I finished writing and ran over to Mrs. Wade's store at its usual opening time. But when I got there, the store was closed. My heart pounded with fear as I peeked through the front window. Could Mrs. Wade have closed the store without telling me?
Do you think she did?
No.
I was about to go home and tell Mama and Daddy when I heard Mrs. Wade's voice. "Destiny, here I am," Mrs. Wade called from her stoop next door. "Why isn't the store open?" I asked. "I just needed some time to think," Mrs. Wade said. "Will you have to close the store forever?" I whispered. "I hope not, but I'm just not sure, Destiny," Mrs. Wade said sadly. "It's hard to know if customers will keep coming back." I didn't know what to say. Then I remembered my notebook. "I have a present for you," I said, and handed the notebook to Mrs. Wade. Her eyes lit up with surprise when she opened it and saw Mrs. Wade's bookstore by Destiny Crawford. "Why don't you read it to me?" Mrs. Wade asked, a big smile spreading across her face. I read every word as Mrs. Wade listened with her eyes closed. When I finished, Mrs. Wade gave me a big, long hug. "Destiny, this is the best present anyone has ever given me," she said, beaming. "Words are a powerful gift indeed." That time, I knew exactly what she meant. Mrs. Wade and I don't know if the store will close, but until then, we are going to keep reading and writing and gobbling up all the words we can.
Okay, so was the problem actually solved in this story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Do we know what's gonna happen to the bookstore? No, so was the problem completely solved?
No.
No, not in this story. Okay, we're not sure if she's gonna be able to keep her store open yet, because that's what she had said. Why is she not sure if she'll be able to keep the store open? Do you remember what she had said? Connor?
Because she just doesn't know if the customers won't come back.
Right. It all depends on how many customers she continues to have. All right. So tomorrow, when we come back to reading, we'll be doing some more character work, specifically about Destiny. Tomorrow we'll be working on a character map. Okay, so what you can do is go ahead and put your reading books away